Hello.
Hi.
And welcome to Justin and
A Dream.
First movie review. We just got out of the theater and today we went to... So first, we go every Tuesday to Regal Theaters. We go every week to go see a new movie at the theater. And this week, our movie of choice was...
28 Days Later.
That's right. 28 Days Later. We hadn't seen either of the first two leading up to that. 28... oh, no, this is 28 years later.
What did I say?
Do you say days?
I think I said days.
That's okay.
I meant to say years.
They did
28
say
years later.
They did skip 28 days later at the end, so it's okay to think that. It's appropriate to think that. But before we get into the movie, we did see a trailer for a movie that we're excited for. So last year, we've been watching a lot of movies together throughout the past year. We're actually in the middle of our Marvel watch-along right now, and we're up to Doctor Strange we just finished, and we're going to be starting Thor Ragnarok.
That one was actually pretty nice. I like that one.
Yeah, I'm glad you like it, because Doctor Strange is definitely one of my favorites from Marvel. And so we've been watching that in the meantime. It actually started off as a Spider-Man watch-along throughout the whole series, but Dreeny wanted the whole context of the Marvel Universe, so... we've been going through that one by one.
Justin was apprehensive at first. He didn't want to do it. He was like, that's a lot.
It is a lot. It's a big undertaking. And also I knew we weren't going to be watching each and every one of them. We were just going to be watching the important ones. But it's tough when it starts off with like 3 Iron Man movies,
yeah,
you know? Like,
I had to immediately take a break.
I know you were feeling that after a while. You were like, another one? You're like, we really got to do this? But yeah, before we went to the movies, we saw a trailer for a movie we're both pretty excited for. So one of the movies that we were rewatching in our watch along was the Conjuring series. We watched that last Halloween around for like spooky season. You know, we had watched all of the Conjuring movies, 1, 2, and The Devil Made Me Do It. We watched all the Annabelle movies, except for one. I think it was the most recent one, because we kind of fell off with that.
Mm-hmm. And we watched all the Nun movies.
The Nun movies were great.
Yeah.
The Nun is a solid series. A lot of really good scares in that one, and The Nun is the best thing about The Conjuring 2, easily. But in the theaters, we saw a trailer for a new Conjuring movie that's coming out in September, so that's really exciting. We're definitely going to make that a part of our spooky season movie marathon this year, for sure.
Wait, and the Jigsaw?
Yeah, we were discussing it beforehand, because we were talking about gore and like movies. Another movie that we had seen around Halloween last year was The Terrifier 2. Or Terrifier 3 was in theaters, and we went back, because we found that movie so like entertaining in a gross, disgusting, but also like fascinating kind of way. We went back and watched all the other movies. So we watched All Hallows Eve, we watched Terrifier and Terrifier 2 in preparation, or following the Terrifier 3. And sorry, what were we talking about? Gore?
Yeah, absolutely disgusting.
No, but we were talking about in the lobby with them. Oh, Saw. Yeah, so Saw is going to be a part of our rewatch as well for Halloween this year. But yeah, Conjuring looks pretty cool. Definitely gotta check it out. It looks like it's gonna be the last one, so that's exciting. Now that we're all caught up on all those movies, we're caught up on the story and everything with Ed and Lorraine, so that'll be nice. But that brings us to another horror property that we just got out of seeing, which is 28 years later. So this is a zombie outbreak movie that takes place in the United Kingdom. I think this one was in Scotland, right? What was that flag? The red
It had
cross?
a red cross.
Yeah, Finland, Scotland.
It's not
one
Finland.
of them. It's not Sweden either.
Because Sweden was the other people.
Sweden is the blue with the yellow flag. So imagine if you take that and you just color swap that.
I think it's Scotland. I think you're right.
Okay. I'll take it.
I think it is Scotland.
Okay. So where do we start with this movie? I guess we start with like the scene with Jeff at the beginning. Jimmy, yeah. I keep calling him Jeff. Why do I call him Jeff? Yeah, my name is Jeff.
You kept calling him Jeff.
Literally, while we were in the theater, I was still calling him Jeff too. I was like, why do I call him Jeff?
I realized, but I'm like, I'm not gonna correct him because he's gonna talk.
Oh, you're the sweetest. Thank you so much. You know that I love to hear myself talk. All right, so the movie opens up with Jimmy and a group of kids who are all like there's clearly a panic going on. There's an air raid siren in the background, like alarms are going off. By the way,
and they're watching Teletubbies.
Yes, they're watching Teletubbies. They had the kid's face on the sun. Adorable. Loved that shit when I was growing up. I was a big fan of that.
I never watched Teletubbies while growing up.
As
they do look scary.
Yeah,
They have this eerie, ominous vibe to them that looks like they kill children on the low.
You know, I heard actually today about a property that was made by the same person who made Teletubbies went to make another show in the UK, but it scarred a lot of kids in the early 2000s. It became like a 2000s like childhood trauma. It was in a childhood trauma iceberg video where someone was talking about scary things from their childhood. For me, it was Courage the Cowardly Dog, because I was born in 98. So in the early 2000s, Courage was terrifying for me. But this one was, what was I saying? The iceberg?
About what?
What was the scary thing that we were just talking about? The childhood trauma.
Teletubbies.
Yes, Teletubbies. So they made one in the UK, and it was like these, like, imagine like a Hershey Kiss was like fuzzy and different colored, and it was like the same thing as the Teletubbies, but they were just dressed in those costumes instead, and they did like these weird spins, and it traumatized a bunch of kids. I had never seen it, but I was a fan of the Teletubbies. So yeah, they're watching the Teletubbies in the beginning, and clearly there's a panic going on in the background. You don't really get explained what's going on, but from the previous two movies, we know that there's an outbreak of infected going on throughout the United Kingdom. It originally started in the UK, and then that got turned into a quarantine zone, and then in the second movie it spread, and we're gonna probably go back and rewatch those ones now because we didn't come in with the prior knowledge of these two, but
you didn't need it, honestly.
Nah, honestly, you would have been fine if you watched this movie as a standalone. And also they have a spin-off coming out next year for 28 Years Later, which is like within the same world but a separate story than what we just saw. So
I didn't know.
Yeah, I heard about that before we went to see this movie today, so that's pretty exciting. I did my homework.
He asked me if I was gonna watch the two movies before seeing this one. I said no, and then you know what he did? He went ahead and what was it called? He watched some short 15-minute video about analysis.
Yeah, I watched the 15-minute recap of the first two movies because I thought that maybe I would need some prior knowledge, because also we had gone together and the two people we had gone with hadn't seen the previous movies either, so I didn't think it would hurt to know if there's something like, look, the infected, we needed to know that they're not zombies, because they could still be killed. They died from arrows. Zombies wouldn't
zombies could be killed.
Zombies wouldn't die from arrows though, unless they're shot through the brain,
which is
zombies have to be shot in the brain. Infected could be killed by normal means.
Zombies can't be killed.
Okay, well, they're already dead.
Zombies can be killed.
Okay, terminated, we'll say. Right? Exterminated.
No.
Okay.
Terminated.
So zombies can be terminated by shooting them through the brain. Infected could be killed by any means. Like they're just humans that have a disease, basically.
I mean, not really, because the father in the movie specified that the son, his name was Spike, he had to either shoot them in the brain or in the heart.
He said the neck.
Or the neck, yes,
he said
the neck.
Because we see actually, so the father, Spike grows up on this like island basically where they travel off into the mainland through this like channel, this bridge that is affected by the water. So if the water raises, if it's high tide, then nobody could get through. If it's low tide, then they can travel to the mainland basically.
And no, they cannot swim because the current will drag them out to sea and drown them.
Nice. So Spike and his dad go out to the mainland while the rest of the village kind of stays at home and supports them, cheers them on and everything.
Mind you, Spike is 12 years old.
Spike is 12. He is not prepared for a zombie outbreak. He's not prepared to defend himself. However, he has his dad there with him, who seems like a certified fucking, what's the word?
Douche.
I wasn't going to say that.
Cheater.
No, okay, yes. But I was going to reserve douche for,
Eric
later in the movie. That guy is such a douche. Oh my god. So yeah, that was really funny. Later in the movie they show up and there's like a team of like
wait.
Okay, yeah, sorry. Let's sorry.
We're all over the place.
We are, but
it's our first one. It's okay.
And we have a lot of ideas about the movie and also like things we want to discuss. So let's start back from the beginning. So Spike gets taken out with his dad out to the mainland to do like an expedition journey, to kill an infected, basically. That's their goal.
Yep.
He gets that. He gets a notch on his belt. However, him and his father find themselves in a really tense situation where they're chased down by a bunch of infected and forced into like an attic of a house. And in that attic, prior to this, they already stopped at the house and they saw like there was like a body hung up upside down and he was like bleeding out into a bag and everything. And that was Spike's first interaction with like having to make a hard decision, you know, like with actually having to kill someone that was like tied up and everything. He felt like they were vulnerable, so he didn't want to do that, but his dad was like, no, this is a good lesson for you and everything. What I was gonna say about his dad is he seems like a what's the American Rifle Association? I forget the name.
I don't know that.
Yeah, the acronym, you know, the acronym for like, people make fun of them all the time because they're like, I should have a gun in my home no matter what, even if my kid plays with it.
They sound like they want guns in there.
Yeah. So he seems like one of those guys who fights for gun rights, basically. He seems like he wants to go hunting on a Saturday, bring home some venison, and then have his wife cook it up so he could have a hearty meal. Not an upstanding pillar of his community, let's say. And that's proven later on by his infidelity.
Mind you, his wife has cancer.
Yeah, so we don't know really what the situation with his wife is for a majority of the movie with Spike's mom. She's like struggling in bed, has a tough time getting out of bed, low energy, short-term memory, like she's very forgetful about things and lacks motivation. So we don't really know what goes on with her.
And a lot of times she doesn't know like where she is like in her headspace, so like she'll assume like she's freaking 6 years old and with her dad,
like talking to people that aren't even there and stuff like that. So she's kind of like deluded in a way, but also they showed towards the end that she really wasn't like all fully like, she was still lucid to a degree, and
she knew her diagnosis.
Yeah, she was actually
that was such a waste of a trip, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah,
so we discussed that even when we were in the theater. We were like, okay, first off, this is a terrible plan. Like, you just went out to the mainland one time. It's okay, we're just talking about the movie, it don't matter. Anyone who's seen it by now, anyone who's watching this has probably seen the movie, so they know,
I guess,
right? Yeah. So they go to find a doctor because when they're trapped up in the attic, Spike sees a fire off in the distance and he's like, oh, what is that about? So when he gets back to the island, he asks, I think it's his grandfather. I think it's his mom's father, right? The guy who's hanging out around his house. That's not his dad?
I'm not sure.
I thought that was his grandfather. I'll be honest. I thought that was his mom's father. Kind of. But who knows? So he talks to this guy back at the village about the fire that he saw, and he's like, oh, that's this doctor that we saw back in the day. So Spike goes to talk to his dad about the doctor, and his dad's like, that guy's a fucking psycho. We saw him like 10-15 years ago, and he was like laying out bodies like head to toe, like in a line, like doing weird shit, like standing on his head and wearing socks on his hands and shit.
That's not what happened.
No, but he was covered in iodine for some reason. He lathered his whole body in iodine
because he said the virus doesn't like it. So
right,
and being that he deals with bodies that contains the virus, it makes sense.
Let's be real, that guy had like thousands of skeletons, bones and skulls and stuff like that. Like, he knew what he was doing.
Bones.
That guy knew what he was doing, and he was efficient with the blow dart. He took down Samson.
Yeah, and he could have just killed him.
Let's talk about Samson real quick. So Samson is the elite in the movie.
Alpha.
The alpha in the movie. He's like the strongest infected around. Looks like a certified bruiser Brody. This guy is like jacked to the gills and floppy schlong everywhere. Like, this guy is just walking around fucking hog going left to right everywhere. And Samson, so I'm pretty sure, and we discussed this in the movie, we're pretty sure that the girl, so there's an infected at one point in the movie who's giving birth inside of a train, and Spike's mom goes to help them when they're on their expedition to go find the doctor. And when they're inside of there, like, the mom starts helping this woman who's pregnant, like one of the infected. Yeah, she starts helping the infected who's pregnant and like deliver the baby and everything. And it's like, okay. I thought it would be an infected baby for sure. It's in the bloodstream.
What I thought was really weird is that the infected woman who was delivering the baby was what she wanted Isla's help. Like, Isla had her hands out because the woman's giving birth. Isla put her hands out so the What do you call those people?
Caretaker?
No.
Deliver.
Pregnant? A woman that's pregnant?
A pregnant woman?
The woman that was the infected that was pregnant took Isla's hands and helped her deliver the baby.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool because it showed even in a moment like that where
they're there mentally.
Yeah, they still have their grip on humanity.
Just
enough. Just enough that in a moment of desperation they would reach out for help or something like that. Like that was cool
human instinct right there.
Yeah, you're right. And it was human instinct also for Isla to help her because she was a nurturing kind of motherly figure to Spike when she could. Like she gave everything she could to Spike when she had the chance to.
Mm-hmm.
And it showed in that moment that she helped deliver the baby that she's like caring and loving, but she just only could to a certain capacity because she was struggling with her own, difficulties and stuff like that. So yeah, that was pretty cool. At this point, we were introduced to Eric, who was a blonde, douchey Swedish guy, Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
Why does Sweden have a navy?
I don't know.
I thought I'm gonna reserve comments on that because I don't know what kind of powers be. But okay, so he gets dropped down and he encounters the Alpha, Samson, right away. And he luckily gets away, but then they get to like a gas station. And this part kind of pissed us off because the gas station they go inside of to run away from the infected, it's Spike and his mom. And the whole place is filled with gas, right? So like the entire gas station is filled with the fumes and everything. The doors were locked, so it's all trapped inside there. So they go in, all the infected start piling in, and then Spike and his mom like lay down on the floor underneath like a countertop, and it's enough to protect them from Ike, who's on the rooftop, and he doesn't know them at this point, shoots down into the gas to shoot at the zombies, and completely lights everybody on fire inside the building. Like, if there was gas inside that entire building and you lit off like a bullet with gunpowder and everything like that, it wouldn't start a fire. It would cause a massive explosion that would kill everybody. So like there was definitely, and we talked about this inside, there was definitely a degree of plot armor throughout this movie that it was like, okay, that probably wouldn't have went down like that, but I can excuse it. And that was just one of those moments where I was like, okay, all right. Because it's a gas station filled with gas and someone just like basically lit a match, it's like the same thing. You'd think the whole thing would explode, but it just lit the zombies on fire. It would light the oxygen on fire too. Like nobody's safe at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a small thing.
Mind you, on an entire trip, like with his mom going to see the doctor, they didn't encounter like hardly any of the infected. Yeah,
they were pretty, for the most part, it was pretty quiet. Like there was a few run-ins that they had and everything, like the one where Spike fell asleep and like we didn't really know what happened at first, but it turns out his mom protected him.
Yeah, but I'm talking about even before that, like that whole journey just to get to that point, right. Not one infected they encountered.
Yeah.
Yet when he went with his dad for the first time, there was a whole bunch. They met the Alpha.
Yep. What does that tell you? Your father will get you into some stupid situations. That's what it'll tell you. Because he's as much of a dumbass as you, but he's trying to figure it out. Yeah. And someone has to be responsible, and it can't be the 12-year-old.
No. Even though he was very responsible.
He was, yeah. So getting back to the train real quick, because Spike and his mother helped deliver the baby, and then Eric is like, I'll fucking kill you if you let that baby live. I'll kill everyone here, which is famous last words.
No,
like,
I understand him though, because you really don't know for real if the baby's infected or not.
I thought that baby would for sure be infected if the infected is delivering it and it's been in your bloodstream for 9 months, assuming that they have the same timetable. Like how is that baby not infected? Mm-hmm. I find that a little hard to believe, but whatever. But I think that baby might have been Samson's.
Yeah.
Because he seemed really insistent on getting that baby back, even to the end.
It's
not confirmed. But even at the end, when he's going after the doctor and Spike on their own, and he's like crushing in through their like little hatch in the ground, like he's persistently trying to get to them, and he knows exactly where they are. So it feels like he has like a tracking beacon on that kid or something like that, on the baby. Yeah, so then at the end of the movie, the baby gets delivered. They find the doctor. The doctor diagnoses the mom with cancer, and then the mom decides to pass away at that stage because she's like, this is the best ending that I'm ever gonna get with Spike, and there's a new beginning for the baby and everything. She has like a renewed kind of purpose, but ultimately decides to kill herself there at the assistance of the doctor, because what was the doctor kind of like knew, like he blew her with a blow dart and everything. He's like,
that had morphine that just stuns a person. It doesn't really kill them.
And they used that on
that's
Samson.
What he's on Samson.
Yeah. They used that on Samson a few times, and it like pacifies him, but it doesn't like put him to sleep. He's just standing there like, yeah, great. We did that at the same time. And then the best part of the movie happens at the very end. This part really just, it came out of nowhere. It didn't need to happen. Spike drops off the baby back at the village, and he's like, you'll never see me again, Dad, but you don't have to look for me because I'm making it on my own. And it's a cool message about growing up and being your own person. And the baby gets dropped off at the house. Spike goes on his own journey, starts cooking up a fish, and then he gets pursued by a bunch of infected. And he gets kind of cornered in this situation where it's like, it looks like there's nowhere else to go. And who shows up but fucking Jimmy from the beginning of the movie, 28 years later. So like, we got really no development with Jimmy throughout the movie, other than that first scene where he's like running from the zombies and like hiding underneath, like in the church.
The only way we knew it was Jimmy was because in the beginning, 28 years before, the father, well, the priest, I should say, because I don't know if that's actually his father or he's just referring to him as father.
He did say dad.
He did?
He did say, he said dad.
If he said
father.
Dad, then that's his daddy.
Yeah.
But his dad gave him the
beads, the rosary beads.
Yeah. Like the symbol of Christ, the cross.
That motherfucker was wearing it like the Antichrist at the end, though. He was wearing it upside down.
Why are you cursing when you talking about Christ?
I'm so sorry. Lord forgive me. I'm so sorry. I was talking in reference to Jimmy. Jimmy, why would you wear the sign of Christ like that? That is not acceptable.
The only way we knew it was him was because he had the same necklace, but he was holding it up. He was wearing it upside down, so like the Antichrist and whatnot. And he did he looked messed up.
He posted up with the Harlem Globetrotters of zombie assassins. Like
doing backflips.
It's like a team with doing backflips on roller skates
colorful
with hockey sticks and barbed wire bats. Like these guys showed up looking like cheerleaders, just ready to fight the infected. And I was all about it. I was ready to see a whole movie based on that team.
I didn't like it. I feel like it completely
it derailed. It completely derailed the movie. Like it had no sense being in there.
What?
I'm gonna be honest, that ending really throws off like a lot of the consistency of the movie, because it's like, what just happened?
Those group of people gave the same vibes of the vampires from Sinners.
We mentioned Sinners during the movie.
It's for something else.
Yeah, for something else. But yeah, this movie, I think it draws a lot of parallels. I wouldn't say to Sinners. I would say this movie draws a lot of parallels to Planet of the Apes. I think that like the way that like these movies kind of laid out, and also how this one laid out with like War of the Planet of the Apes was, I think, the last one, where it's like they're fighting the war against the apes have taken over the world. Now it feels like this is on a bigger scale. Although I would say like this doesn't ever really get the sense that it's worldwide. Like, I don't ever feel in this movie that the infection is worldwide. Like,
it's just, from what I know, that island. Well,
yeah, because we hear that from Eric. So Eric is the Navy SEAL again that shows up from Sweden, and he's got an iPhone. Like, he's got like photos and a radio and everything, and he's like, do you know what any of this is? And
up-to-date gear as well.
Yeah, and Spike's like, I've never seen a picture before. Like, I've never seen a screen before. So it's like, on the outside of the world, I guess this isn't as big of a deal, or they've decided to just move on and quarantine that zone. However, like, there's still survivors, on that island.
Yeah. Because nobody's gonna go and rescue anyone on that island because they're at risk of getting infected too.
Right.
So it's like, if you go on the island, you're on your own.
Yep.
But if you make it off, hey, maybe we can help you.
That's right. Maybe. But yeah, overall, thumbs up movie. I really liked it. I definitely want to see the earlier ones.
I want to see the earlier ones.
I want to see 28 Days Later because I'm a big fan of Cillian Murphy, so I'd really like to see that movie. So yeah, we'll work it into our movie routine, probably after Avengers.
Or between, because, you know, we need a break sometimes.
I'm fine with that too, yeah. And I would be down to watch 28 Days Later.
Me too.
Yeah, it looked pretty good. Okay.
I liked everything about the movie. Well, not everything, but I liked the movie up until the ending. That ending sucked. It didn't make any sense. It threw the whole movie off. That ending did not need to be there.
I love the ending. I thought it was hilarious. Like, it was... Because this movie was kind of silly and absurd at certain points. Oh, I also want to point out the red vision that Spike had a few times throughout the movie, especially towards the beginning. He was getting, like, these glimpses, these visions of, like, all the zombies in, like, a night vision kind of mode, where it was, like, red, and then the zombies outline, like, their eyes were, like, light up.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked like a night vision camera and everything. I thought those shots were kind of cool, how they, like, kind of, like, mixed them in to show that, like, even though Spike is with his dad and everything, he's on the mainland, and he has, like a crippling fear of the infected. So, like, every time that, you know, like when he's hunting and everything, it's like flashing the glimpses of, like, the infected and the actual terror that they bring and everything. I thought that was done pretty well to show how Spike was feeling in that moment.
I wouldn't say it was crippling fear.
For Spike? At the beginning it was, I think.
I don't know. I wouldn't
If
say
it wasn't for his dad though, like, he was shook. If it wasn't for his dad's guidance and telling him what to do, he wouldn't know what to do. He'd be dead. But point taken. What do we want to review? We do letter grades, so you ready for a review?
Wait, hold on, a minute.
Okay.
The ending sucks so bad.
I loved it. It was so funny.
Like, I would have given this movie like a nice rating if it wasn't for the ending.
Interesting. I thought it was so funny. I was just like, dude, who are these guys?
I'm trying to think. Because it's a good movie.
It was a good movie. There's also a lot of zombies movies, you know? This one, so in the recap for the 28 Days Later that I watched before this, these movies start exactly the same as The Walking Dead, by the way. Like, man wakes up in a hospital, doesn't know what happened, zombie outbreak happened. I think that's kind of funny. Yeah. Also, they missed the chance to make this movie 28 years after the first one. They were so close. It came out in 2002.
Really?
Yeah, so if they waited a few more years, it could have actually been 28 years after the original, but...
They could have just released it a few years later. Like what they did with Avatar, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm ready to wait.
Are you talking about Blue People Avatar?
Yes.
I got no time.
Hating on it
I got no
now.
time for James Cameron. This video would be twice as long if we got into my thoughts about Blue People Avatar. But can you name 3 characters from Blue People Avatar? Jake Scully?
Sully.
Jake Scully?
You're such a hater.
Who else?
You're a hater. You know, it sucks when he does this to me because he knows, like, I don't have the best memory when it comes to names. Even actors or actresses, singers, artists, I am bad with names. I could look at the picture and be like, oh yeah, I recognize this person.
Right.
But he wants me to name three characters from a movie I haven't seen in so long.
What's the name of the world for the Blue People?
I don't know. Earth?
It's Pandora, right?
Well, great for you, you know.
And I don't even like those movies. Because they're
Oh.
forgettable.
Yet you remember.
I gotta know how to hate on
Which means it's good, because you're hating for no reason.
it. Pandora from Borderlands is better. I'll put it out there.
Didn't we see the Borderland? No.
Don't bring up that movie. Don't bring up
He
that
wants to
movie.
talk Borderlands.
Borderlands
He
is
said it sucked.
Borderlands is the only movie
I
I've
didn't
ever
see
rated
it.
an F. It's the only movie I've ever rated F. It's so fucking bad. And I'm such a fan of the property too. Like I like the second game, but that movie was so bad. Oh, and we review all of these on Letterboxd as well. So we put up our letter scores on there for every movie that we've ever watched.
I'm a little behind though, I'm not gonna lie.
That's okay. No worries.
A lot behind.
Look at my list because we watch our movies together, so you can look at it for inspiration.
You're so biased when it comes to your rating, which obviously it's his rating, but what he does, he likes to look at what the general public think of the movie and incorporate that into his rating. So if he thought a movie was really good, but then he sees like, oh, they gave them like a 3-star, I'm gonna knock off like half a star.
You bring that up because I only did that. The only time I remember doing that is for Honora, and that's because we fell asleep halfway through the movie, and I didn't really watch the rest of it. So I don't recall doing that for other movies as well.
You see, because
We're getting sidetracked. We have to give our letter grade for 28 years later.
You're full of it. B+.
But I was going to do a countdown.
That's what you get.
I get a B+, not even an A. I'll never be an A?
This isn't about you.
Wow, I'm surprised you gave it a B+, even after that ending, because
it was a good movie.
I agree. No, I thought it was a good movie too. I would give it a B. I would go a little bit lower than that, actually. But that ending, I boosted up by a point. Maybe a B+. That ending was so funny.
It might be a B for real.
Jimmy was so funny. He's just, what is this dude's deal? Where did he come from?
I give it a B+ because I normally don't watch movies like that. The last one I watched similar to it was The Walking Dead. I didn't finish it.
That's not a movie.
You know exactly what I mean.
What did you get up to in The Walking Dead? You said you didn't finish it, but how far in did you get?
I don't remember. I don't know if it was a time skip or whatever, but like there was just this canyon of zombies. Mm-hmm. That's all I remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say.
I don't remember the season number, but it was pretty far in.
I only got up to the prison. When they left the prison, I didn't watch past that. I think that's season 4.
No, I'm way past that then.
Yeah. But I know a few things about like what happens in the later seasons. But yeah, that was our review for 28 years later. We'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace out.